Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
Welcome to the show. This is episode 186. And today we have Dr. Kathy Gruver, and we're going to be talking about how to conquer your stress and discover who you really are. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, helping coaches and therapists to get their message heard to the people who need to hear it. Now, Dr. Kathy is an award-winning author, professional speaker, and AC certified coach with over 30 years of experience in mind, body, medicine, and human behavior. She has captivated hundreds of audiences on 4 continents, 3 cruise ships, and a handful of islands. It's been a true honor to have delivered 2 TEDx talks. She's already written 8 books, which have garnered 12 awards. She's hosted a TV series based on her first book and developed a stress reduction program for the US military and co-hosts the Fire and Earth podcast. She's penned countless articles and appears regularly as a guest on radio, TV, and in print media. So she's recently been on the Dr. Phil show. She's earned a PhD in natural health and studied mind-body medicine at the famed Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine at Harvard. And she says for fun and stress relief, Kathy does flying trapeze and plays Dungeons and Dragons. So welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm exhausted just listening to all that.
Oh, that's pretty impressive. To start with, before we discuss the topic of today, how did you get here? If you'd like to share with the listeners a little bit more about actually your backstory.
Yeah, that's a great question. My life always had 2 parallel paths. I was an actor, so I got on stage when I was in 5th grade, swore I would never get off stage. And I had this healing path. So I love in your intro when you say with a touch of woo. I got a little touch of woo. Not too much woo, little woo. So as I was acting in college, I was a theater major, and a woman showed up one day and she was walking by and there's like this horde of students carrying like mats and tea and all this crazy stuff. And everyone's like, Dr. Pat's here, Dr. Pat's here. And I said, I don't know what that means. And somebody said, oh, she's a massage therapist and she works on all the students. And I went, oh, I'm in. So I followed this woman with this line of students and they put a piece of paper on the wall and everyone signed up. And eventually I got in to see her and she was the neatest woman. And during this particular show, I didn't have much to do. So I would sit there and just watch what she was doing. And I'd help the other students get tea, or I'd hand them a certain herb, or I basically acted as her right hand girl Friday. And one day she turned to me and she said, Kathy, I've got to get back to my regular job. I've got 3 more people on the list. Can you take those mats and go in the other room and work on John? And I said, no, I don't know what I'm doing. And she said, yes, you do. And that moment was one of those pivotal moments that was life-changing for me, because I realized I actually do know what I'm doing. And so I started apprenticing with her very accidentally. And so when I moved to Hollywood from Pittsburgh, where I was raised, to pursue this acting career, I thought, oh my God, what a perfect sideline, right? Addition to all these award-winning film roles I'm going to do. Those didn't come, but the massage and the healing stuck. And so when I moved to Santa Barbara from Hollywood, I started a massage practice. And then I followed the breadcrumbs. I started doing reiki and I started doing homeopathics and herbs, and more initials gathered behind my name. And I started doing hypnosis and I helped with births. And like I said, back in July, I helped do pyrotechnics for the Dodger Stadium show. To me, it's like I just say yes to stuff. And by saying yes and following those breadcrumbs, it's been an interesting trail. I've discovered some really interesting things. So now I'm a life coach. I do a lot of work with internal family systems, which I know we're going to talk about today, the sort of the ego state stuff. And yeah, I don't know what's next. I'm waiting for the next breadcrumbs to lead me on another path. Yeah, long, complicated background, but here I am.
Love it. It sounds like you've just really just gone with the flow, which I can completely relate to. My background was, I was a sports therapist for 27 years, and yeah, you just doing what you love and whatever sort of comes to. I never even, when I first qualified, I didn't even know what sports therapy was. I went down to study to be a personal trainer, and so to do the full diploma, you could add on massage and the sports therapy and electrotherapy. And I just was like, oh, that looks interesting. So it sounds like, yeah, you've just gone with what you're passionate about. And all these things fit together, though, don't they? So it's all about treating people holistically, because we're a little bit more complicated than maybe some people think, right?
Yeah, there's not just a pill for every ill. And it's interesting. People think health simply means absence of disease, but they don't think about things like financial health and sexual health. And we're talking more about mental health, thank goodness. There's all these aspects. We're a multifaceted being. And I think to just focus on one aspect of that's like only changing the toilet paper in your house and never doing anything else with it. It's like you got to paint, you got to do the dishes, you got to look at what's happening in the garage now. And not the best analogy, but it's true. It's like we have to look at all aspects. And I never did get off stage. The acting career, when I gave up acting, people said, "Oh no, I thought you were going to do that forever." And I went, "I don't know." And here I am back on stage, different outfit, different accent, but I'm still getting up and entertaining people, and it's one of my favorite things to do.
Perfect. Now we're going to talk about, yes, with regards to, I would say, I don't know, I'm just going to throw a number out there, probably 98% of people's problems, ailments, do you agree would arise from consistent stress?
Yeah, stress is one of the biggest problems in our society, and it's getting worse. So we have all these gadgets and gizmos and all these chat GP at whatever those initials are that I can't remember. And it's making our life more complicated, and it's making our life more stressful. And not to blame everything on social media, it's a big problem. And we're seeing teens now, especially young women, have such huge body image problems and such FOMO and such eating issues because of what's happening on social media. And I was not particularly popular when I was a kid. I know I'd come to school Monday and I'd hear chatter about parties that I wasn't invited to, or I'd trip and fall, or someone would trip and someone would trip me and I'd fall. It was torturous to be me as a kid. I can't imagine having the added stress of social media. So now, not only was I not invited to the party, I have to look at everybody online who was at that party. And not only did those 10 people see me fall, now the internet saw me fall. So I think about things like that and I go, oh my God, how are kids dealing with this today? Our communication is suffering, our relationships are suffering. And I think we are busier than ever, which is contrary to what it should be because we have all these tools that would help us now. But now that's a 24/7 office. You could be doing emails at 2 a.m., whereas before you shuttered up your business at 5 and you were gone. No one could reach you. So I see stress actually increasing in our society. Luckily, we're having the conversation about mental health and relaxation and meditation as opposed to medication. And I'm excited about that trend. And I hope it continues because we desperately need this stuff.
Oh, I do think it's going to go full circle. I'm sure life was a lot simpler, a lot less stressful without social media and the internet. On the flip side of it, like you say, it obviously I wouldn't be able to run my business without it. It has so many pluses, but it seems to be that it's down to us. We have to set our own boundaries with it. Like you said, who wants to be answering emails at 2 a.m.? I have to be quite strict with myself because it's only going to be up to me whether I'm going to answer it or doesn't really matter. You can wait till the following day to follow up. But so it's like I suppose all stress is perceived, isn't it? But there's this perceived amount of stress that is put on us or that we are putting on ourselves. And people just need to understand how to deal with that and flip it around.
And to that point, and I'm glad you brought that up, right? So we're not going to talk about the true fight or flight response stress. We're not going to talk about you're walking down an alley and someone jumps out at you. Please run. Please don't stop and meditate. Not the time for that. If you're crossing the street and a car is hurtling towards you, now is not the time for affirmations. Get the hell out of the way. Because stress isn't really the problem. Our problem is that reaction to the stress. It's our reactivity to it. So if we can learn to control our reactions, because we can't stop the stress. If we could, we would, and then it would just be another thing we have to do. The stress is always going to be there. So what we can do is change our response to it so that we're not as reactive and we're not creating a fight or flight response for something that doesn't warrant it. Your boss saying to you Friday night as you leave the office, I want to see you first thing Monday morning. First of all, there probably goes your weekend, right? Because you're going to be ruminating about that, but that's all up here. That is not fight or flight worthy stress. You can't run from it. You could, but that's not productive either. You have to wait till Monday in that present moment to see what the issue is. And we ruminate the bad stuff, right? We're what ifing. No one popped up in the middle of the night and said, oh, what if it's not cancer? What if he proposes? Oh, what if my kid does great on that test? We what if the bad stuff. And that's creating this trail of more and more negativity. And that's where the danger is.
And do you think that's always been the case? Or do you think that's just, again, something that we've been more conditioned to in modern life?
Yeah, I think it is. I remember growing up, my grandmother was very much a worrywart. She was very negative. If we were 5 minutes late for dinner, she had us dead in a ditch. Didn't think there was traffic. Maybe we got stuck on a call. Maybe my dad ran late at the office. We were dead in a ditch. And that was just where her brain went. So I think we are all wired for worry. Our brain's number one concern is safety, right? So our brain is constantly scanning the environment for things that could be harmful to us. And when we're on hyper alert like that, and then we throw in things like 24-hour news cycle and social media, and I think that is contributing to a very natural, it's our lizard brain, it's the amygdala that is constantly on guard of what's in the environment that can harm me. And the more we look for that, the more we find it, which is fascinating. So if we can break that cycle, if we can do a pattern interrupt and say, wait, what do I know to be true right now? Right now, my boss said, I want to see you Monday. That's all I know. We can try to interpret tone, and we can think back to, oh no, did he see me stealing those Post-it notes? Or, did I not do my report right? We can start to ruminate on that. But again, that's all up here. None of that's real. And that's where I think it's important to stay present. I'm a huge fan of Eckhart Tolle. I've done a lot of studying with him. And accept the isness of this moment.
Oh,
and
I love that. I love that.
When we
what is.
Yeah, it's like when we want to be anywhere else, or it's when we want the situation to be different, that we suffer. And that's all up here. It's all up here.
We're very creative, aren't we? We don't half create some bizarre stories. And like you say, why can't we get into the habit of creating the better stories? But as you said before, we tend to create this a worst case scenario. But we throw this word around, stress, and yes, like you said, we're not going to go into the fight, flight, freeze, but everyone's talking about that. We understand, yes, it does have an effect of us. Too much cortisol is going to have all sorts of effects on us. But so where do you draw the line? What sort of stresses are harmful, and what sort of stresses are, it's no problem, we can deal with it? What are some of these warning signs?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's such an individual thing, right? You mentioned in my bio that I do flying trapeze. So I climb a 20-foot ladder. It's a little shaky. You're like, and then you get to the top and you're winded because you're not in as good a shape as you thought you were. And then they strap you in, and then they hand you this really heavy bar, and you have to jump off this platform. And everything in your being is saying, why would I do that? That makes zero sense to me. So you jump off and you hang from this bar, and then you hopefully do your trick, and then you hopefully get caught, usually by a hot shirtless guy. So I know everyone gets excited. Most people get excited by that. And then you do your thing, and then you drop into the net, or you return to the bar you started on, and then you go back to the platform, and it's safe and healthy and fun. Just me explaining that probably has 10% of your audience in a cold sweat going, I'm not doing it. I'm not climbing the ladder. That's terrifying to some people. To me, it's exhilarating. It's fun. It's exciting. I thrive in a higher stress situation. I'm very type A. I would make a perfect emergency room nurse. That is an environment that I know I would thrive in. Most people can't do that. So I think the first thing that's important is to know yourself. That's one of the most ancient axioms ever. Know thyself. Because when we rent a car, right, we travel someplace, we rent a car, we take the little check sheet and we walk around the car and we note every ding and every scratch and every mark because we don't want to be charged for it. But when do we take that checklist and look at ourselves? So when I say to a client, how long has that bruise been there? Oh, I don't know. I didn't even know it was there. How are you feeling today? I don't know. How's your headaches been? I don't know. When did they start? I have no idea. We don't look at ourselves of not only our bodies, but our stress levels, our emotional state. We don't examine that. And I think we have to. So I think that's the first step, is knowing yourself. And then we can build on that from there.
But the problem there is that we have all been conditioned, not all of us, but because maybe some are more rebellious than others, that we've been conditioned to give our power away. So it's almost like in more recent history, when I say recent history, I don't know, maybe even the last 100 years, that we've just given, we're not understanding ourselves. It's like we've been conditioned not to trust our own intuition, not to trust our own judgment on who knows your body better than you. But we've given that power away to somebody who is we perceive to be in authority, and we found ourselves in general waiting until something happens, until there is a real symptom that's continuous, and then they'll go to somebody outside of themselves to give them a pill. That's where we seem to have found ourselves, rather than, like you say, being self-aware what's happened to that. But one thing I want to pick up on, so you said type A. So would you like to explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, so, type A, the very typical, stereotypical type A is the sort of the red-faced guy rushing off to the office, and he's eating lunch at his desk, and he's too busy, and he's got high blood pressure, and he's burning himself out. That was the very stereotypical type A. I shot out of the womb and went, okay, check, now what do we do? That's just my personality. I'm a Capricorn. I'm a triple Capricorn. I'm very Capricorn. Only child. Dad wanted a boy, got me, so I'm very competitive. I'm very go. It is actually toned down a little bit because my husband is very not type A, so he has untype A'd me a little bit, and I've realized that it's not as healthy and productive as I thought it was. So I've toned that down. Type B is the more sort of laid back, like go with the flow, not as, if you need the report done in 2 minutes, you probably want to go to the type A guy and not the type B guy. Fast generalization. So that's a breakdown of that. But type A tends to be high stress, play hard, work hard, burns the candle at both ends kind of person. And so
I can relate. I haven't done the trapeze thing, but I've always said I do want to jump out of a plane. I've done a bungee, and I've always said the best feeling in the world is that millionth of a second when you've jumped. And the realization that there's nothing below you, and yet love it. I've always said if you could bottle that, you'd be a multi-billionaire. But for some people, the very thought of that would horrify them. Absolutely horrify them.
Oh, and jumping out of planes is so much fun. I think I can't remember if I did it 2 or 3 times. It was amazing, that weightlessness of just that falling, and it's like that when you do your catch, because the catcher catches you and then you swing out. And there's this moment of just this feeling of flying, and then you swing back. It's this pendulum feeling, and you don't want to let go of the guy. You're like, oh, I want to do it again. It's so much fun. And I'm not doing trapeze as much. I'm now doing aerial silks, which is the fabrics that hang down that you, I just performed that actually, which was mildly terrifying. But yeah, you also asked to circle back because we have an open loop. The warning signs of stress. So these are going to be really individual, but it's everything. You have to look at physical, emotional, behavioral, spiritual. So, are your shoulders up to your ears? Are you clenching your jaw? Are you not sleeping? Is your stomach upset? Are you clenching your fists? Are you snapping at your kids? Are you smoking, eating, drinking more than normal? Are you turning to drugs? Do you have road rage? Are you impatient? There's so many of them. And what's tricky about these is, sure, every once in a while we might cry for something. Every once in a while we have that, I just want to escape and live a different life kind of feeling. It's when these things are pervasive and continuing for a long period of time that they're a warning sign. Because over time, this stuff isn't normal. It's not normal that you haven't pooped in 2 weeks. It's not normal that you're not sleeping through the night. It's not normal that you're clenching your jaw. These things are not okay for our body long term. So if you're seeing those things in your friends, your spouse, your kids, your colleagues, your boss, they're maybe dealing with some stress that should be addressed, reactivity to the stress. And because our bodies are a barometer, right? They're going to tell us what's going on. And so when I work with clients, one of the first things I ask is if they're a visual person or a kinesthetic person, do they feel things in their body? Because often when something's amiss, we feel it in our bodies first. We get that sinking feeling in the pit of our stomach, or we feel that tension moving through, or we lean into something, we lean away from something. This is why we walk around with that checklist. Because if you don't know what your body's like when it feels great, you're not going to know what it's like when it starts to fall apart. Same thing with our mind, our sex life, our mental life, our nutrition. We want to know, the more we know, the more power we have to make changes.
And now are people paying attention? I think some people going for a laugh and they're just really not aware. But what are some of the ways that you can different ways of decreasing stress, and would they be different for different types of people?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I do trapeze for stress relief. That's not going to do it for a lot of people. Some people, all my friends at the trapeze rig, that's our church every Sunday morning, or whatever it is. You've got to find what works for you. So stress appears differently in a lot of people, and the way we handle stress and manage that is different for a lot of people. I have a girlfriend, her idea of relaxing is she lays in a chaise lounge. And she just lays there. And I'm wondering, like, what she did to get in trouble, who put her in timeout, and when she can go get a book. Because why are you just laying there? That sounds horrible. That's the most boring thing. That is not going to work for me. I can do that like 10 minutes before I go, okay, I need a book. I need a podcast. I need to write something. So whatever works for you. I dance. I do silks. I go wine tasting. I play games with my husband. I play with the cat. Whatever works for you is the most important thing. We can go through the list, what I teach. Mindfulness, meditation, affirmations, visualization, breath work. There are there's an endless supply of tools and things that will work for you. And if you don't know what you like to do, think back to what you did as a kid. Did you like to ride your bike? Maybe you take a spin class. Did you like to walk through the woods? Maybe you join a hiking group. We actually have a kickball group here in Santa Barbara. Adults, kickball league. You kick the ball, you run around the base. Now, as you pass the bases, you have to do a shot, which I don't remember doing in grade school, but it seemed fun. Find what works for you. That's the bet, because then you're going to do it.
Yeah, I suppose that's the same advice for any kind of exercise. Not everybody's going to do the same thing. So, yeah, there's no right or wrong. Just do, whatever works. Whatever works.
Something. Yeah, and identifying that you're stressed. And I think that's the thing, too, because, again, a lot of people don't know. People hear my bio and they go, oh, my God, I'm exhausted just hearing that. That, to me, is a normal life. That's just normal. I see clients all day. I do classes. I do exercise classes. I write stuff. To me, that's perfectly normal. Not everybody can keep up with that pace. Do what works for you. Give yourself permission to take a break. Give yourself permission to decentrate for a second. We concentrate so much. We can't sustain that. We have to decentrate. And maybe it's 5 minutes of cat videos, or maybe it's 10 minutes of a Wordle game or something like that. Whatever works. You have to know yourself and then give yourself permission to make a different choice.
Because do you think some people use certain distractions, but they're not actually helping with the stress? So what I mean by that is, same thing. There are so many different social media platforms. There's so many different things to keep up with. And some people might be using it as a way to distress, but actually it's causing more.
Yep. So here's the key word with this: conscious. Because if I pick up my phone and go, I'm going to spend 5 minutes and I'm going to look at things, and I'm consciously scrolling, as opposed to, oh crap, it's been 3 hours and I've been watching cat videos. It's so easy to get sucked into. Now, if you're not aware enough of time like that, set a timer. Every morning, my husband plops in the chair and he said, I'm going to spend 5 minutes doing my word game. And that is his way to transition from sleeping to, okay, what does Capricorn need from me? Because I bolt out of bed and I'm like, let's do it. What's next? This and this and this and this. He doesn't work that way. So I've had to be flexible to understand I can't start throwing tasks at him at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's not going to work for him. He has to have his transition time. So I respect that. He respects that at 5 minutes, I probably got a list of stuff I need help with. And we've just learned to work that way. So I think there's an awareness to it. There's a consciousness to what are you doing? And because we have these phones now, remember what we used to do in line places? We would talk to the people around us. Remember conversations? That was great. We would, or we would go inside and think about things. We would fantasize. We would daydream. Now, as soon as we're in line, what do? Scroll. We're so in here, but we're not actually in here. We're in this other thing, which isn't real for the most part. Now, I love social media. I love putting up my daily pauses on TikTok and Facebook, and I love seeing what my friends are doing, and I love the occasional funny cat video or the doofus that drives the trailer into the house by mistake. It's hilarious. You can't get lost in that world. You can. It's not a great idea, because what's happening in this world is so much more important. And that outside validation that we get from, somebody liked my video, that feels great. And if that's that's fueling us as a human being, if we're seeking that external validation because of social media, it's really dangerous. And there's such an increase in depression in our youth right now, and they are attributing that to social media, period. So
Yeah,
get out of your phone. After you're done listening to this, then get off your phone.
I can quite believe it. It is,
Yeah.
like we say, it's a good thing in some ways, but there are some. It's just setting your boundaries, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Setting your boundaries. So, as I said right at the beginning, how to conquer your stress and discover who you really are. So, what do you mean by that?
Yes, and this goes back to that worry part, right? That one that keeps us up in the middle of the night. So, what I'm referring to is called internal family systems, also known as ego states or parts work, depending on which sort of system you learn. And there is this huge increase in awareness of and practice of internal family systems. I'm going to grab my visual aid here. And what that is, we all have different parts, right? So you have a work part and you have a home part. You're different on the podcast than you are probably around the gals at the bar when you go out. You're different around your kids than you are at the bachelorette party, or I hope so. You're different at work. You don't talk to your boss, hopefully, like he's your kid. You don't talk to your husband like he's your boss, hopefully. So we have these hats that we wear. These are hardwired into our brain. They're called ego states or parts, and we all have them. They're formed in childhood as a way to protect ourselves and also as a way to fit in. So if you remember the TV show Friends, Chandler Bing was the jokester, right? He was always the funny one. That was his main ego state. And he brought out that part of himself when he needed to dispel stress, when things were getting too emotionally heavy, or when he wanted to connect with people. And it was so huge for him to the point where on one episode they challenged him to not be funny for 24 hours, and he couldn't do it. That was just a guiding part of who he was. So the more we get to know these parts, the more we get to heal these parts and make sure that they are acting in the healthiest way possible. So our worry part, let's see if we can get that. Yeah, these are called interactive cards.
Right.
I love this one. The woman that does this art is incredible. This is our worry part, right? This is the one that's up in the middle of the night going, oh, what if this and what if that and what if this? She's there for our good. All of our parts are there for our good. She is there to warn us of things. She's there to protect us. She's there to let us know something might be coming that's dangerous. If she didn't do her job, she feels like something bad would happen. So we have all these parts. We have a manager part. We have a health part. We have a striving part. We have a spiritual part. We have a relationship part. We have all of these parts that work as a team in our system called us. So Kathy has all these different parts. Karen has all these different parts. And healing them, getting to know them, and of course the one I'm looking for has got to be the very last one. Yes. So I mentioned Capricorn a couple times, right? This is Capricorn. Now, she's there for my good. She's allowed me to write 8 books. She got me my PhD. She keeps my pants on. She keeps my book in order. She keeps my clients coming when they're supposed to. On her negative side, she's controlling, cold, emotionless, bossy, bitchy. She'll plan the vacation. You don't want her on the trip with you. She is not fun. She's not fun. She can make a great smart alecky comment, which is hilarious, but she's not fun. She can be mean and cruel and impatient. So how do I balance this part? What is she doing? She's trying to keep me safe. She thinks if she keeps me achieving, they can't hurt me. I mentioned I didn't have a lot of friends in school. She thought when she was formed when I was in grade school that if she kept me moving, they couldn't get me. If I didn't take study hall, they couldn't tease me. I took another class. If I didn't eat lunch with everybody, they couldn't beat me up. I'd go into the library and read. So her main job for me was keep me moving, keep me productive so that I'm safe. And when she gets out of control, it's not pretty.
So it sounds like you've got a balance, but it sounds a little bit like schizophrenia.
So that's a good point. Not schizophrenia so much as multiple personality disorder, now known as DID. And we all have these. We have 10 or 15 of these that we see most often, but we can have up to 100 parts when you actually break them down and do them. And this is one of the main things I do with my coaching clients, because that worry part that keeps popping up, or that fearful part, or that bossy part, or that angry part, we want to get to know them, thank them for what they've done for us, and then figure out how to heal them and balance them. When you have something like DID or multiple personality disorder, like I know I have a Capricorn, I know I have a scared kid, I know I have an angry part, I know I have a little kid part that likes to play with my partner. When you have DID, you don't know that you have these other parts. There is no awareness that you have these pieces. So you might wake up in the morning in a bed that you aren't familiar with, a wristband from a club that you've never been to, wearing lipstick that's not your color, and people are calling you Beth when your name is Mariah, and you're like, I don't know what's happening right now. DID, dissociative identity disorder, serious mental health issue that needs therapy and typically medication and all sorts of intervention. This is not what this is, because I'm sure, like Karen, you felt yourself switch states, right? You're suddenly triggered by something, or you want ice cream. No, we can't have ice cream, but you had a stressful day. You should have ice cream. Yeah, but we're going to work out because it's summer. Yeah, but screw you people. I want ice cream. It's like we have this conversation with ourselves. We have this, part of me wants to ask him out. Part of me is terrified. Part of me wants to jump out of a plane. The other part goes, what are you thinking? It's a perfectly good plane. These are the words we use this term all the time. God, part of me really wants to. We're talking about all these parts. So there, I've done the verbal dump of what ego state is. It's my favorite thing, obviously.
So it really come back round to what you were saying earlier about know thyself. You need to be aware. When you are aware, I know I can turn into a complete child at times, and I can be all over the place. Mm-hmm. I suppose it's not staying in any of the negative. It's okay to go all over the place, as long as you don't stay there too long and you become aware of what's going on, or which hat you've got on, if they are a negative hat, and come back. I suppose the danger is when you get caught up in that and you're not aware. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, we typically, even though we say things like a part of me this and a part of me that, and when I do this as a workshop, I say, you guys all have a work state and a home state. Everyone nods. We know that. We have a work persona and a home persona. We don't think about that as being a multiple of ourselves, but we're multiplicity beings. And again, these are hardwired into the brain. These are not just psychological constructs. So different ego states can have different handwriting, different attitudes, different. I could tell my handwriting changes when I'm in Capricorn versus when I'm in a more relaxed, calm state. It's just how it is. No one can read Capricorn's handwriting. It's impossible. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, I don't know what that says. Figuring out when you switch those states. And so, how to explain this in 20 minutes? So under all of this, there's self. There's this self that has no ego state on it at all. And self is compassionate, caring, calm, connected, curious, courageous. That state is the I just got out of meditation state. I just did breathwork state. I just had a great workout and now I can go. That state is the one when someone goes off the handle and we say, I am so sorry you're upset. I completely understand. I would feel the same way. How can we resolve this? As opposed to their angry state triggering your angry state. Because ego states trigger each other. Can I give you an example?
Yeah, sure.
So I was making the bed and my husband said, can I help? Yes, you could absolutely help. So he goes up there and he puts the fitted sheet on, and all the women relate to this. And it's sticking up like this far on the edge. And I knew what would happen. It was on my side of the bed. And I knew that at some point in the night, I would roll over and it would go bink and the whole fitted sheet would come off. Capricorn doesn't like that. So when he moved to the other side of the bed, I fixed it. And he sees me do that and goes, I can't do anything. Heartbreaking. Oh my God, I felt so awful. I didn't say anything. I didn't shame him. I didn't demean him. I just corrected the thing that he had just done. But that triggered shame in him. Now, what Capricorn wanted to do was go, seriously, dude, it's a bed. Get over it. That was not going to solve the problem. That was going to make it worse. So instead, I noticed that he shifted states. I told Capricorn, okay, shut up. And I stayed in self and I went, oh, honey, I'm sorry. I said, I am so weirdly anal about the sheets. I like them to be really tight. I so appreciate your help. Why don't we go for a walk when we're done? And he goes, okay. Totally dispelled the situation. Whereas if I was tired, stressed, hungry, drunk, all these things that don't allow us to stay in self as strongly, I might have flown off the handle at him, and then it would have been a fight, and then our states would have triggered each other, and it would have been a mess. So when you're in self, and this takes practice, you can feel a state coming on. I could feel Capricorn going, oh my God, get over it, dude. Just tell him to, nope, hang on. Thank you for your input. I'm going to stay here. It's the umpire during the baseball game, right? The guy's on the pitching mound, he's kicking dirt, he's screaming, and the umpire's just like. Now, it's not a shut down state. It's not a, I don't care, I'm going to just close off state. It's a hyper conscious state. It's, all this kind of relates to the pain body with Eckhart Tolle when he talks about that. These negative states that are triggered is our pain body coming up. And we want to trigger other people's pain bodies too. Same thing as these different ego states.
But we really want to be in that self, or we want to be in the present, because I suppose that's where we are with it the majority of the time. But like you said, this takes practice. And this is something, you mentioned Eckhart Tolle, I would say that had such a profound effect on me personally, even though I'd read it first time, 20 years ago. But my problem was I only read it once. See, when we come across these new ways of thinking, or if they're new, if you haven't heard of that kind of stuff before, we need to hear it over and over and over. And I bought it again last year, and I don't read books anymore. Audible, thank goodness. I love it. Yeah, see, that's a plus for the for the new tech, right? Because you can hear his voice. Oh my goodness, you just want him as your dad, really. He's just got such a calming voice, and I really had quite an aha moment of, because the whole self-development arena is always talking about thoughts. You've got control of thought. You can't control your thoughts, but thoughts become things. It's all around this, which I consider as the ego, and the whole just practicing being was like, even though I'd read it before, I didn't get it. And I only got it because I kept listening to him over and over again. And what I just realized that, man, I have been overcomplicating absolutely everything my whole life. That was one sort of aha moment. And actually, life flows so much easier after a period of practicing being, or practicing being in the self, how you put it. And just, for me, something so simple. Why do we overcomplicate everything all the time?
All these things are simple, but they're not easy.
True.
And whoever said meditation, you had to blank out all your thoughts, I'd like to have a conversation with them, because that doesn't work. And I studied with Thich Nhat Hanh, who even said, look, there are days I have trouble meditating because I can't turn off my brain. And I'm thinking, dude, you have one job, which is to sit in an ashram and meditate. We're in this life. And it's hard, and it's complicated, and it's sad, and it's scary. And I can talk about all this stuff, and it's like, I've been practicing this stuff for years, and I can still get tripped into a state that is negative, that is angry, that is jealous, that is loud, that is judgmental. Oh, Capricorn, she loves to judge. And the more I experience that, the more is an opportunity for me to go, okay, hang on, bring that back. You don't need to respond that way. I helped with the fireworks for July 4th at Dodger Stadium. And one of our jobs is to keep people out of that area, because we can't have just people wandering through live fireworks. And there's one woman on this crew with me who she loves to scream. Security could be approaching the guy, and she will run over and go, no, you can't be here. No. And she will yell. She won't say, excuse me, I'm so sorry, you can't be here. She'll just go to, from 1 to 10, she'll start screaming. Now, how do you think the people respond to that? Not well. And we watched one guy really get in her face. He started screaming and complaining. He's got a kid with him. You've ruined my son's day, and I'm calling my ticket rep. He freaked out. And I had to talk with my husband, who also knows a lot about ego states, because we talk this way in our house about, oh, I've got a Capricorn now, or hey, this has come up and blah. And I said, God, I wonder how different that exchange would have been had she simply said, excuse me, sir, I am so sorry. The restrooms are closed right now. It's an emergency. I totally understand. I have kids too. I know when they have to go, but it's a law because we have live fireworks here. Unfortunately, you're just not allowed to cross. As opposed to rushing into his face and screaming. Because what it triggered were two angry states and them screaming at each other. And us just sitting there going, oh God. And this poor kid, this poor 8 or 9-year-old is watching this unfold. So what is he now being trained to do? Ego states trigger other ego states. And had either of them been able to stay in a glimmer of self, that wouldn't have happened. And so it's just, and now that you know this, I actually did this workshop for a bachelor party of all things, 12 guys. And one of them, after we did this work for a little bit, said, Kathy, this is the most incredible thing. I can't unknow this. And so now as you go through your day, you can watch people switch. You can watch them get into this sort of slight bravado when the girls are around that they like, or the, oh, hi, I just, this kind of like little kid thing that girls sometimes do when they're flirting, or the boss will suddenly boss more. It's fascinating to watch. And I love to sit in like restaurants and just kind of sit back and every once in a while go, oh, ego state switch. And my husband will go, yep. And the more you know yourself. So here's how to work with this, because let's do something practical, right? Write down 3 of your ego states. And maybe you simply write down manager, mom, chauffeur. Maybe that's what you do. Or you write down bossy one, funny one, silly one. Just write down 3 of your states. If they have a name, great. My Capricorn loves to be called Capricorn. My organizer loves to be called if you have a name for them, that's great. If not, just write down sort of an overview of what they do, and then write their qualities and traits. Like I said, Capricorn, she's hardworking, she's a natural leader, she's a great communicator, she's driven, she's hardworking, she's organized. Then on the flip side of that, she's bossy, she's cold, she's steps in where she shouldn't. I can't tell you how many barbecues Capricorn's cooked and not at her own house because the meat's not going to cook itself and no one's paying attention and I'm hungry. So I'm cooking and people are like, oh, is this your house? I'm like, nope, but the burgers aren't going to grill themselves. I'll just take over. Now, that can be good and bad. I don't like to say bad because these parts do think they're doing this all for our good, but there's no other words. So write those 3 parts, write their positive and negative traits or how they act when they get out of control, and just really start to know those parts. Because the more you know them, the more you can work with them. Because you're not going to step into a corporation with an all-hands meeting and just start assigning tasks without knowing who these people are. You might have the CEO doing copies, and you might have the tech guy making coffee, and the receptionist is out running the whole company. You wouldn't do that. You want to get to know these people. What are their skills? What are their traits? What role do they play in this organization? That's what this is. And then you start to make different choices. And then on the other hand, you want to stay in self too, so that you can manage all these parts.
So then I suppose then you can choose which one comes out to play at any given moment. Yeah, some things upset you, or like recently the plane was cancelled, and rather than getting upset and angry, you've got to go to the desk and plead and do this sort of poor me, put on that persona, because that's going to get you further. They're going to more likely help you out rather than getting all demanding, and that's not going to get you anywhere. So what I'm hearing from you is really accepting the different personas that you portray at any given time, understand the good and the may not be seen as so good. and then once you're aware, then you can bring them out make them work for you rather than, I suppose, you being controlled by them. Is that what you're...
That's a great way of putting it. Now, having said that, there's difficulties with that. If you have an angry part and someone triggers your angry part, I had an experience actually at the trapeze rig where one of the instructors shamed me in front of 30 people. And narcissist. As soon as he did that, Capricorn came in and went, oh, hell no. And then I shut down. And so later he was trying to talk to me and there was a wall. There was a wall. And I said, I can't have this conversation right now. I'm done. I'm out. And for a couple hours, I was just like I was dead. Someone could have fallen in front of me. I would have been like, oh, that's unfortunate. That's going to be paperwork. I felt nothing because my system couldn't handle that. From years of being shamed by various things, it all goes back to our childhood, big T, little t trauma. And my system couldn't handle what had just happened and it shut down. The secondary aspect of that was my avoider came in and went, guess we're not doing trapeze for a while. Because the thought of running into that person, I couldn't handle it. So our system tries to work as one unit to protect us. Sometimes to protect us from other of our own parts, like maybe the angry part, the rest of them don't like, so we try to shove that part away, or there's a scared part or a shameful part or a hurt kid that we don't want to disrupt the system, so we put them in a box someplace. it's such an intricate thing, and it's so hard to explain. This is why I brought the cards out. Perhaps this is that you got your kid who was being teased. They're throwing fruit at him. Capricorn came in and went, I'm going to protect you so that you don't ever have to feel like this again. So as an adult, if we feel like this again, it triggers this. Or we get scared and we hide in a corner, which is what I had to do after that experience because I didn't want to be around this guy again. So if we can heal these parts, then they don't get as reactive. Then we don't turn to alcohol, drugs, anger, porn, video games. Not to say those things are, well, something might be bad. We all have coping mechanisms. It's that extreme aspect of it. And recognizing that all of our parts are there to help us, I think makes a huge difference. When we can thank our parts, even the crazy lady in the middle of the night that's worried, thank you so much for thinking about that. I appreciate that you're warning me something could go wrong. I've got it handled. If something happens, I'll let you know. And I appreciate you being there for me.
And how do you heal them, though? What are you talking about there?
Yeah, so that's a more complicated thing. So that's going to be with a coach or with a therapist, someone that specializes in doing this. So when I work with clients with this, I hand them this deck of cards. Again, it's called interactive cards. I'm not associated with them. I get no money if you go find these somewhere. But when you work with me, this is the first thing I do is I hand you a deck of these and I say, flip through and tell me any of these that speak to you, any of these that you relate to. And they put them in a pile. And then we'd separate them out according to what are the positive ones and what are the ones that might be perceived as, these don't always serve me. And then we talk about them. And it's like we're casting a play. It's like, tell me, oh, here we go. This is a good one. So tell me about that one. It's so hard with this light. It's this sort of Barbie doll. She's being judged. There we go. It's the light. Tell me about this part. Oh, I was a dancer when I was a kid, and I felt that I was always on display. And if I didn't perform for my parents, then I would get in trouble, and they only loved me if I was making straight A's. And that might be one of your past parts that still to this day follows you around, because if you don't feel like you please your boss, go the extra mile, do the 400th bake sale when you don't want to do any more bake sales. So how do we heal that part? It's about going back to that original time and figuring out what that part needed. Did the part simply need your parents to say, I love you even though you got a B? Or, hey, you messed up that dance move. No one cares. We love you unconditionally, because we all want unconditional love. And no matter how good your parents were, there were times we didn't get it. Or we turned in the mall and they weren't there for a second. And we had that, oh my God, where are my parents? We all had trauma, big T, little t. We've all had it. And from that trauma comes these parts.
So for the listeners out there who are like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And maybe I need a little bit of help with this as well. If you're watching this on YouTube or on social media, you'll have all of Dr. Kathy's details. But to the listeners, how would they find you and what do you have to offer?
Yeah, my best site is kathygruver.coach. It's Kathy with a K, G-R-U-V as in Victor ER.coach. And I work with couples. I work with individuals for executive and life coaching. I do a lot of work with the ego states, because in all of the tools that I've gathered over the last 30 years, it's one of the most effective. And when we start to look at things in our lives that we want, that we don't want, that work, that don't work, when we start to look at them through these aspects of these different parts, and we learn to stay in self, so many changes happen. I have clients who I've sat down with these cards and the ego state work in couples, and they literally lay out, when you do this, it triggers this in me. Oh my God, I didn't know. And this triggers this in me. And we sit there and we negotiate these roles. We negotiate these parts. And even if you're someplace else, I've got clients all over the world that I send these cards to, and we work with them on Zoom or whatever platform we're using. So it's such an incredible system. I'm also a motivational speaker. That's kathygruver.com. I do a conscious leadership program. I do stress, communication, ego state workshops. Overcoming resistance to change is one of my new topics, which of course is very popular right now. Yeah, so it's like I love helping people. I wake up every day and ask, how do I get to serve people today? So that's my driving force.
And of course, you 8 books.
Working on the 9th. Working on the 9th.
Oh my goodness.
Capricorn's on the 9th.
You're on the 9th. So what was your last one and where can people find it?
Yeah, so I wrote a couple books going with my lectures. So I have Conquer Your Stress at Work, which is the 5 stress techniques I teach. I have Say What, How to Communicate Anything to Anyone. I'm working on an ego state book right now for lay people because it's normally for psychologists, psychiatrists. I want everybody to be able to access this info and work with it because it's truly a life-changing thing. And my favorite, I know you're not supposed to have a favorite child, but mine is Journey of Healing. It's my last full-size book. And it's everything I know about health and wellness with some personal tales of growth and evolution thrown in. So it's like textbook meets autobiography. All of those are on my site, kathygruver.com. Some of them are on Amazon, not all. And yeah, I'm all over social media too. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Find me there, Kathy Gruver or Dr. Kathy Gruver. And I
Brilliant.
look forward to connecting with everybody.
So you're working on your ninth, and what is this one going to be about? Or
So this one is just be yourself. Yeah, it's just be yourself. Who the hell is that? Using ego states. So it's going to be everything we talked about. Because if you hear the workshop, or even like this sort of thing, and you want to learn more, and you try to find it, right now it's very technical stuff. It's made for practitioners. I don't know that there's any books yet that are out there just for lay people. And so to me, it's important not only to have a resource when I do workshops to be able to continue that learning once you leave. It's also, to me, just important to spread information that I think is helpful to help people heal and be better and know themselves and achieve what they want in life. Because we can. There's so many things holding us back that don't need to be. And teaching skills, whether it's affirmations or the ego state work or breath work, I just love passing on tools that I've learned that can help people grow, evolve, and get those things in their lives that they want.
So do you think that the issues are ego states get in the way? And that's when we say I need to get out my own way. That the
Yeah.
issue. If we could be more in the
Yeah.
present.
Yes.
But again, I suppose we just need reminder. But again, like you said right at the beginning, that you've got everything at your disposal. You've got a mobile phone as a timer. You could just book specific times throughout your day as a bit of oh yeah, hang on. Even if it's just a couple of minutes of just being ultra aware and just being in the moment and just shush. I talk a lot, so shush, shut up, Karen, verbally and mentally.
Yep.
And it is, and I know from my own experience, that is when the magic happens. It's me that gets in my way. Karen, get out.
Yeah, because we overthink things and then an ego state pops in that wants to second guess it. And then it's fascinating. And just in my own life, I've been working with these probably for 5 years now. And just recognizing when a state comes up where I go, that one just completely sabotaged that whole situation. Crap, why did I respond that way? Or react that way, actually. Obviously didn't respond. I reacted. And why did I just do that? That didn't work. So we learn from that, hopefully. And then the next time that situation arises, we make a different choice.
Yeah. And again, we can still do the reaction, but as long as we don't stay there. So yeah, I still react, but how long I stay in that reactive state is just not anything like it.
Right, that's great. Look at us learning.
Yeah. Do you know anybody who is in the present 24 hours a day? And this may be Eckhart. But
I say maybe Eckhart Tolle. But like I said, even when Thich Nhat Hanh said he had days that it was hard, I'm like, oh my God, okay, I have to give myself a break. Because no one stood up and walked the first time. And could you imagine if we just gave up? We'd all be scooting to meetings and crawling around our bellies, and it would be ridiculous. We have to be gentle with ourselves because it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah. And that is it. So it is all just going back to basics. It really, again, like I say, it's our own fault for overcomplicating everything. Or again, the way we have been conditioned. But when you do get this stuff, this is the most important thing to master, if you like. So why isn't it taught in schools? Because imagine a world where children have been brought up understanding this. You just think that there'd be any world problems, because everything will be solved in one generation if the kids were taught this at a very young age. But not enough importance seems to be put on it.
No, I didn't do geometry at all today.
Funny,
and I'm probably not going to do geometry for the rest of the day. But I had to take that No, I definitely didn't do algebra. I barely made it through that class alive. But I did have to communicate, interact, write a check, pay a bill, do my taxes, make phone calls to get an MRI. There's these life skills, just practical life skills. Who doesn't? I was taught to change a tire and sew on a button when I was a kid because my parents instilled that in me. I know people that they couldn't change a tire if their life depended on it. Call AAA. What if your cell phone isn't working? Oh, suddenly you have to change a tire. And taking it past that into the life skills of just being alive as a human on this planet, we're not taught how to navigate this. And there's no one blueprint. Boy, if I had that would be book 9. But we have to do our best with these tools. And the more awareness we have of mindfulness and presence and the work that like Eckhart Tolle and so many people are doing, you doing the show, you're getting to reach so many people and empower them to be better. And I'm thrilled that you had me on.
Oh, thank you so much for your time today. It's been fantastic. You can see why. You're a fantastic speaker and you've got a fantastic presence. And what you're doing is what's needed for people to live happy and fulfilled life, is learning these tools and practicing, because none of it's going to happen overnight. I'm obviously a slow learner. It's taken me 20 years since I first read that book to actually finally get it. You don't have to be that slow. Get a coach. It's a quick way.
Yeah, it is a quick way. I mean, I've been working for this forever too, and I still have my days where I don't do very good. So
thank you for your time. It's been a wonderful conversation. And to everybody else, I will be back on Thursday with a Coffee with Karen. Bye for now.
The Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.